Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I'd like to say a few words about what we call the forces of good and evil. Now, not good and evil from the perspective or of ordinary religious thought or our ordinary sense of what is moral or what is not moral or immoral, but the forces of good and evil as it pertains to the nature of the soul, that is, pure consciousness. Now, the main characteristics of consciousness is expansion, its natural will to expand. More consciousness, meaning more light or enlightenment, because the nature of pure consciousness is light. When we speak of the forces of good and evil, well, we mean what's good or what's in line with this nature, or what's not in line or against this nature. So, one thing that must be understood about the nature of the soul is, of course, its will to expand, its natural will to expand. Now, anything that goes against the natural expansion of the soul is usually what can be called evil. Now, this is a very complex and deep subject, so I'm just scratching the surface here. So, anything whose goal is to stop, stifle, limit, or control the natural expansion and expression of the soul is usually part of what we call the forces of evil, whether these forces are conscious or not. Politically speaking, socially speaking, all forces which aim at censorship are usually evil in nature, whether the proponents of such censorship effort and policy are conscious of it or not, they are usually the play of evil forces. Anything that wittingly or forcefully limits free expression, access to information, the possibility of learning more and learning all that there is to learn, if somehow this is made difficult or we censor stuff that perhaps some don't want others to know, this is again the play of evil forces. So, in our society today, who's trying to stop speech? Who's trying to limit speech? Who's trying to coerce speech one way or the other? Especially when the speech that is trying to be censored is, for all practical purposes, more in line with the truth. If we are trying to censor what everyone considers the truth, then we have a very big problem. Another aspect of the play of evil forces in this world have to do with man's astral body. The astral body within us is pretty much our emotional aspect, the emotional aspect of the psyche. Now, the human astral body is an entirely natural thing. And it is there for the hopefully increased correct expression of the soul through this emotional body, through the means of right emotion and right desire, right feeling. But when the emotional body is too low of a quality, when it is too unstable, when it is exaggerately filled with incessant, violent emotions, when it's filled with anger, jealousy, hatred, especially hatred, or other negative types of emotions, such as too much sadness, too much depression, too much anxiety, too much of anything negative, then such an astral body becomes inadequate for the right expression of the soul, and then it only becomes the expression of lower types of energy, which basically seek to hijack human consciousness and make a slave out of it. So, in our day and age, what do we see? You look at the news, you look at social media, and it seems there is some kind of an effort to always keep people all riled up about all kinds of things, especially political things and social things. It is very difficult for most people not to get all riled up when something that shocks them, something they feel they should be against, happens. In the news, on social media, on the world, or on the world scale, on the local scale, whatever. You see people who get very easily riled up, emotionally riled up all the time, are very easy to manipulate. Easy. It's very easy to keep people in quite a low stage of consciousness when they are always offended, angry, hateful, of whatever, of whomever. It doesn't matter. Maybe we feel sometimes we are right to hate something or someone or some event, but the hate is still there within us when we allow ourselves to feel like that and to project and emanate this hatred from us. The poison hits us first. Doesn't matter if we think we're right. Doesn't matter. Maybe from a certain perspective, it is right to hate something or someone or some political party or whatever. Maybe. But hatred will never be a good thing or a good expression that's going to help you increase your own light, increase or expand your own consciousness towards more of that, which is, spiritually speaking, light. It is best to remain silent in the face of something that otherwise would make us all riled up. It's best to stay silent and to stay stable and maybe try to ponder about it rationally, calmly, but not get the negative emotions stirring inside. The first victim of that is you. The first victim of any form of hostile feeling, the first victim is you. It's not the person you hate. The person you hate, if they're clever enough, they're making you hate them, because then you remain weak, extremely weak. People don't realize, I think, that negative emotions such as, hate, anger, do not give them any strength. It weakens you considerably. You might feel a rush, you might feel some kind of a push, some kind of a strength for action, but in reality, it weakens you. It makes you grow old faster. It diminishes your inner light, which is, again, the nature of consciousness. It diminishes it. Anger, violent anger, jealousy, hatred, those are very efficient ways to diminish the natural light of consciousness within you. They're a very efficient way to invite within your consciousness certain forms of entities, which are these things that we call hatred, or that we feel as hatred, or that we feel as violent anger or jealousy. These are entities. They're forms of energies that exist on the astral plane, because they don't exist on our physical plane, of course. Emotions cannot be perceived in a sensory manner. They are perceived within, through the agency of our astral body. So, if someone is very prone to these kinds of emotions, it means that such a person is kind of a slave to those entities, which basically are what we call again hatred, anger, and the like. So the lesson here is, in the face of stuff that bothers you, remain silent and detached, even maybe somewhat indifferent. I don't mean don't do anything about it. I mean, do not get all riled up and do not let all of these negative energies make a slave out of you. Try to remain calm and silent and perhaps ponder as rationally as you can about these things. People who are extremely emotional and prone to extreme negative emotional responses to all kinds of things, especially political things, such people are rarely all that rational. They are rarely, if not never, capable of, calmly and rationally think about what's going on, the true nature of what's going on. You see, and people who have a lot of power in this world usually aren't extremely emotional. More often than not, they are cold, calculating, rational people, and because of that, it is very easy for them to manipulate the emotional masses. What makes slaves out of the masses of people on this planet who seem to have no power and who seem to get riled up left and right about all kinds of things are the playthings of people who are more rational, more intellectual, perhaps more cold-hearted, but less emotional. We are being manipulated mainly because we are emotionally immature and emotionally or astrally weak. So, the first step towards a certain path towards more personal power, and more personal power not to be manipulated by whomever, is a certain growth of our inner mastery of our emotional or astral body. There's no way around it. And an important thing to realize as well is our emotions do not have any kind of reality of their own. We usually emote a certain way because of what we believe, or because of what we think, or because of what others are telling us to think. If we view a certain event, or if we understand a certain event or a certain law or a certain something one way rather than another way, then we are going to feel differently about it. Think about any kind of social issue that we talk about that is very much trending right now. Any kind of social issue. Those who think about it a certain way feel a certain way, and those who think about it a different way feel a different way. So, if we knew the absolute truth about anything, perhaps our feelings would be right. Perhaps our feeling would be aligned with the truth. But is it the case? Do we really know the truth about all that we hear on TV and on social media? Do we really know the truth about everything politicians tell us? Do we know the truth about all of that? So if we don't, perhaps it is better to not get all riled up emotionally, since the truth is perhaps out of our grasps. We are wasting energy getting all riled up about stuff we don't even know everything about. What a waste. So, spiritually speaking, the path to spiritual growth has a lot to do with recognizing what we know and what we don't know, and practicing or cultivating a certain detachment from the tendency to automatic emotional expression, unintelligent emotional reflection. Take a step back, see what you really know about stuff. Take a step back, think about that emotion that wants to express itself. Is it good for you first? Or is it bad for you? Doesn't matter where it is projected at, or if you feel you should or shouldn't emote. Is it good? What's the nature of what seeks expression through you? You can be sure that intense hatred, jealousy, and anger aren't soul expressions. They are not. So, it is best to remain silent, especially in the face of certain things for which our knowledge is incomplete or very partial. A calm mind and a calm or stable emotional body is far more capable of finding out what the truth is about anything. But the important thing remains, it is the truth about our own innermost nature that is important to figure out first. Most important thing to know and to realize within is what is the nature of our own consciousness. Beyond words, beyond belief, beyond philosophical or religious systems, the nature of the soul is the most important knowledge you can seek. And once we have some realization of what that is, then those forces in this world who seek to control us, and who seek to limit and stop the growth of our inner light, these forces won't be able to control us the same, for sure. Outer freedom is ever a reflection of inner freedom.